Hi, I'm Josh, the Director of Products and Services here at the Fractional Analyst. This video is a part of a tutorial series where we walk through the Fractional Analyst's multifamily acquisition model. If you have any questions or if you'd like to purchase this model, you can visit us by going to thefractionalanalyst.com or reach out to us on our social media channels. Let's go ahead and get started on the navigation sheet. Here, you can see all of the different sheets that this model has. And you can see that they're broken up into three different categories. The first category are the inputs, then the outputs, and then the calculations. In this video, we'll be going over the main inputs sheet. And in a couple other videos that follow, we'll cover the other sheets as well. So here's the main input sheet. As you can see, there's a number of different sections that are going to require inputs for your specific deal. As a quick reminder, if the text is blue, these are cells that you need to add information to. If the text is orange, that means that it has a default value, but you can override it with your own numbers. And if the text is green, those are assumptions that are coming from another location. Lastly, if the text is black, then these are calculations that are happening throughout the model. The first section that we're going to be dealing with is the acquisition detail section. This is where we can put in some high level information about the deal that you're underwriting, such as the name, the address, as well as the purchase price. At the bottom of this section, you can input the closing date, or in other words, the date on which you'll acquire the property. And you can also input the date updated, which reflects the most recent date you've made changes in the model. Next up, we have the disposition detail box. In this box, you'll go ahead and drop in the sale year, today's market cap, as well as how much you believe the cap rate is going to expand per year. Next, you have a multifamily inputs. Most of these are being calculated from other areas of the workbook, but in this section, we can also add in our year 2 vacancy, our year 3 vacancy and beyond, as well as credit loss, staff model units, mark to market timing, as well as resident retention at lease renewal rate. In this next section, you'll notice that we have an area to drop in information about a retail component. This model does allow for scenarios with inline retail. However, if you don't have a retail component, you can just leave all these values at 0. Next, we have our other incomes section. Here, as you can see, you can drop in a number of assumptions about what other income your property is going to be producing. If your property has an income item that isn't shown in one of our options, you can go ahead and type in your own custom options here at the bottom. After we've inputted all of our other income, we can go ahead and drop in the expenses that we anticipate to have at the property. You'll notice that there are 2 columns for each expense, a pre-renovation column and a post-renovation column. With these expenses broken out like this, you're able to change the anticipated expenses based on whether the unit is renovated or not renovated. Please note that these expenses are actually tied to the number of renovated units as opposed to the timing of when all units are renovated. So, for example, if you have a 100-unit deal and you're going to renovate 60 of the units, you would have 40 units generating expenses at the pre renovation rate and 60 units generating expenses at the post renovation unit. The difference in expenses take place as units are finished renovating. So, as opposed to other models where they suddenly shift from pre renovation expense dollars to post renovation expenses, this model allows you to gradually change what your expenses are throughout the entire renovation period. Our next section is the tax assumptions section. In this area, you're able to drop in all the assumptions that are going to impact what your property taxes will be. You will notice that there is a millage growth rate, which is different than the taxes growth rate, which we'll see in a second. The millage growth rate impacts the value of the property when it's assessed, where the property tax growth rate affects the monthly cost of the property taxes. Next up, we have our utility section. This section is straightforward enough. Similar to our other expenses section, you have a pre-renovation and a post-renovation, and you can go ahead and drop in assumptions related to your utility expenses of the property. After that, we have our contract services and our common area expenses section. In here, you can add in expenses related to your contract services as well as common areas, as the title suggests. And you'll once again notice the difference of pre-renovated expenses and post-renovated expenses. At the very bottom here, you have your concession section, where you're able to drop in a specific concession percentage for each of the first 5 years, and then you can add in a concession rate that will be carried throughout all the remaining years. Now, as we scroll back up to the top, we'll get into all of our growth assumptions. First off, we have our rent growth assumptions, and then our expense assumptions. And then, for your convenience, we've also broken out growth assumptions for insurance and taxes. As you can see, in each of these sections, you can add a specific value for each of the first 5 years. Then, starting in year 6, you can pick a value that will take effect and will continue until the disposition of the asset. Once again, you can notice that you have your property tax growth rate, which is different than your mill growth rate. Here we have all of the debt assumptions. This model has the capacity for a senior loan, a junior loan, and two refinances. You can choose which of these options applies to your scenario and leave the others empty. To start off, you need to drop in a loan to value, a minimum DSCR, and a minimum debt yield that the bank is going to require of you. The model will go ahead and assume the highest loan allowed by the bank based on these three limits. If your lender isn't requiring one of these limits, go ahead and just increase it to a high amount so it won't be a factor limiting the amount of debt you are able to achieve. In the NOI for sizing, we allow you to decide if your lender will value your property and your debt off of a forward T12 or the trailing T12. To finish up these debt sections, you'll need to drop in your interest rate, your origination fees, your amortization period, as well as the funding month and the payoff month. In this model, acquisition happens in month 0 and operations start in month 1. So it's essential that you have your loan fund in month 0. Otherwise, you'll have to source these funds via equity in the model until the debt funds. The payoff of the debt should also correspond with the disposition date. If you'll be refinancing on this deal, you can go ahead and adjust that down here in the refinance one section. Go ahead and select yes under the refinance on option. And then, similar to the senior debt options, you'll need to go ahead and fill out all of the information pertinent to your refinancing terms. Please note that the funding month of your refinance will take place on the payoff month of your senior loan. If you have a refinance option turned on, you'll also want to make sure that your payoff month under your refinance is tied to your disposition date. When it comes to the interest rate on the loan for your refinance, the model starts with the assumption that your interest rate has increased along with cap rates. However, you can go ahead and override this value and set your own assumption for what the interest rate will be on your refinance. And then, as I briefly mentioned, you'll notice that you have a second refinancing option that would take out the loan of your first refinance. And if you don't want to use the second refinance, go ahead and leave no selected under the refinance on option. Up here in the opportunity at a glance section, you can see some high level data related to the assumptions that you've dropped in. Most of these are being pulled from the cash flows tab and can give you a good idea of what your current assumptions are generating in terms of NOI and your returns. In this section, you can see all of the returns associated with this property. We've broken out these returns into your unlevered returns, your levered returns, and then as well as the returns for the limited partner, the general partner, and the co-general partner. Finally, to finish off the main input sheet, we have all the assumptions required for your waterfall. The promote hurdle method input is an essential piece that tells the waterfall whether you'll be using an equity multiple or an IRR. You can also use an option of both an equity multiple and an IRR. Once you've selected your promote hurdle method, you can go ahead and drop in the values of each of the hurdles associated with each tier. You can also note that here is where you'll go ahead and drop in the promote that the GP will achieve. Once we've given the assumptions for the equity waterfall, we can go ahead and drop in the fees that the sponsor will be collecting. As you can notice, there's a number of possible fees, and if you will not be collecting some of these fees, you can just leave them at 0. And then lastly, down below, you can go ahead and see the contribution that the GP will be providing as well as the LP providing. Now, you'll notice that even though we've populated all of the inputs for the main input sheet, we're still not seeing values throughout the model. This is because we haven't added information onto the T12 deposit sheet as well as the rent roll deposit sheet. Both of those sheets are required to have data dropped in before the model can create baseline expenses and a unit mix. However, once we've added values onto those two sheets, we'll start seeing values populate throughout the model. That's it for this portion of the tutorial. We have other videos going through the remaining sheets of this model. And as I mentioned at the beginning, if you have any questions or are interested in purchasing this model, you can visit thefractionalanalyst.com or reach out to us on our social media channels.